He's a big promoter of René Girard's Christian anthropology, which you know a lot more about than I do, Lockie.
Yeah, so that's a rabbit hole that I dove into after listening to some of Peter Thiel's interviews, and you can dive real deep into this one. It's a fascinating philosophy of how the world works, and effectively it's about this idea of mimetic desire, which I think has come up in a couple of episodes, where that humans are very much creatures that copy one another, and that copying is effectively how we learn things, but it's also how we desire other things, and we become to want what others have, which is fine when everything's kind of, there's an abundance, but it becomes very problematic when you actually are starting to fight over something that cannot be replicated, like say a spouse or an object of some purport, like a piece of land or something, and that this escalates quite quickly to violence. And then Girard's got a number of ideas around how that's resolved through the killing or violence against someone who's singled out. And a scapegoat. So he's got a theory around why people get scapegoated and how that actually relates to the creation of all myths and all religions. So it's pretty out there. But it also seems to explain.
But it's not actually that out there to some degree.
No, sorry, I should say it's not out there in terms of like the way it explains things. It kind of makes a whole heap of sense, to be honest. But it's claimed to then be to be able to explain the origin of almost all myth and religion. That's quite a bold claim. That's probably what I meant more. And I don't really want to go into explaining the full theory and that rabbit hole of where that goes, but I think we should really lace these ideas throughout this discussion of this book, because it does fundamentally influence the way that he understands the world. This idea of the copying, that humans copy, and that this leads us to a lot of interesting finalities around growth, the importance of growth, the role that violence plays in the world, the role of copying in the success and the blindness to see those other things that aren't as part of the majority, right?
Yeah. Well, he says that mimetics is the most important thing that he has learnt in terms of creating successful businesses, is without a doubt. It's also like we once you kind of read a little bit more about it and find out a little bit more about it, it's quite prevalent everywhere. So I think it's one of those things, and the book title that this comes from by René Girard is "Secrets Hidden Since the Start of the World" or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's like "Things Hidden Since the Foundation of the World", I'm pretty sure is the title.
Yeah. It's definitely worth a read if it sparked your interest, although it's quite dense.
Yeah. I'd probably, if you're a real avid reader, pick that up. If you want to just understand the ideas, have a look around on the internet and try and read and watch some summaries. That's probably a good place to get a broad overview, because the book is seriously dense.
You're very polite, man, Lockie.